guys, it's Nikki. Welcome back to today's video. Today's gonna be more of a chill, sit down video. I'm so sorry if you can hear my dishwasher in the background. I apologize. In today's video, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys a story time about how I tore my ACL. Oh, she's a doozy. So I actually tore my ACL back in July and I had surgery in August. It is now December, so I am a good like 5 months into the recovery process. So let's talk about how this happened, how surgery went, and kind of what to expect if you ever tear your ACL or if you tore your ACL. And also just like a comparison with like anyone who has also torn their ACL. Kind of how this happened was honestly something so silly. I wish I had this amazing, spontaneous, like funny story, but no, it literally was me walking down the stairs at my parents' house. My foot slipped off the stair, like they're wooden stairs to get from their garage to the house. Like there's 2 of them. My foot literally slipped off the stair, and when I landed, I hyperextended and twisted because I was trying to grab the railing, and I literally hyperextended so much that my entire ACL went pop. Immediately when I tried to stand, first it was just the adrenaline of it, so I kind of thought maybe I just like landed wrong, but immediately when I tried to stand, my knee kept buckling. I couldn't even keep weight on it. Immediately I could feel the swelling start to happen, so I kind of was just like, oh no, I tore something. I originally honestly thought that I broke something, but I didn't see any deformities to think that I broke something, but I was 90% sure I either broke something or tore something. Thank God my primary doctor loves me. And I called my primary doctor and I went in that same day to get an x-ray because I was super concerned about, you know. And so we got an x-ray. Nothing looked broken on the x-ray, but she kind of could tell it almost looked like I had a second fracture. And typically you get that when you have a full ACL tear because it disconnects from the bone basically. But it was really hard to tell because obviously it was just an x-ray and it wasn't like an MRI or anything. Pretty much, I know you're probably gonna be wondering like, why didn't you go to the ER? Well, the reason why is because I work in an ER. I work at a level 1 trauma center, and I was not about to send myself to the ER for this situation, even though I probably should have. I wasn't about to go to the ER. I could have went to an ortho ER, which was actually gonna be my next resort if I could not get an appointment that week. Luckily, one of the top ACL surgeons at the hospital, I went to an ortho hospital, was able to get me in for a consult the day after. And luckily we were able to do an MRI that same day, get in for a consult, and he basically told me that he thinks I tore my ACL, but it was really hard to tell because my knee was so swollen and locked up that the MRI would tell us more of what's going on. Obviously, internally, doctors do not have x-ray vision or radiography vision to where they can see inside of you. Another reason why I didn't go to the ER is honestly because I could get in for a consult. If it was so unbearable, I would have gone in, but my doctor prescribed me just a few days of like a pain medicine to help get me through at least. But also, it was like a Tuesday afternoon. The ER was busy. Even though I would have gone to the one I worked at, I still probably would have had to wait, and I'm not gonna wait all this time to get seen when I can just go in for a consult, you know what I mean? So I decided to get in. Luckily, they were able to get me in the next day. They squeezed me in. He saw me real quick. We got the MRI. Sure enough, we put a rush on the results. I got my MRI results literally like 2 days later, and sure enough, it said I had a grade 3 tear on my ACL. If any of you guys have ever torn your ACL, you would know that that means it was pretty bad. You would know that that means I pretty much tore my entire ACL through and through, but I also strained my meniscus. I didn't tear my meniscus, but there was a strain on it. So obviously he would have had to go through, he had to clean up my meniscus, repair my ACL, and then I also kind of strained my like PCL, MCL area as well. So we just had to do a lot of cleanup. Not to mention, we had to make myself a new ACL. We made new ACL tissue basically from my hamstring. My hamstring was able to provide enough that we could make a new ACL tissue from, without having to like go into like a cadaver and get like cadaver tissue, which is honestly a real thing. I didn't think that that was a thing, but it is. There's obviously so many different things that you can do and so many different tissue areas to use. I chose to use the hamstring because ultimately hamstring tissue is going to last you the longest, and it also helps if you're active, if you like to work out. I'm young, so I obviously wanted my hamstring tissue because I knew it was going to last me the longest, but also too with my work life and activities, I don't want to almost feel restricted or like I have to baby my knee for the rest of my life. So after many back and forth conversations that we had at my console, I ultimately decided on the hamstring tissue, just because I felt that that was going to benefit me and my lifestyle the most. But obviously that's up to you and your surgeon that you talk to for surgery, what you want to do or what their recommendation is. Well, obviously I had enough hamstring tissue to where we just got to use that. We didn't have to pull from like cadavers or from like other areas as well. So pretty much from injury day to surgery day, I waited about 3.5 weeks. Reason why is because one, that's the quickest they could get me in, but two, I actually did pre-op physical therapy sessions. This is completely up to your provider, but my provider felt that for me, it's going to make life easier because it's going to help me get some of that range of motion back, but it's also going to help a lot of the swelling. I can say that it did. And you obviously tear something or injure something, you are extremely, extremely swollen. That honestly kind of had a really big effect on my injury. So that also was part of the reason, was because he knew that recovery was honestly just going to be a lot easier if I had a lot of that swelling off of my knee. And also too, I will already have a lot of the range of motion exercises learned. So that way when I jump into physical therapy, that first week or two isn't just range of motion training. So those exercises I could start at home literally a day or two after my surgery. So that was kind of the plan. I had my surgery on a Thursday. That following Monday, I started physical therapy, and that following Monday, I went to Bat Rife. I know that sounds so crazy. I was 4 days post-op on crutches, and I went to a comedy show, but I'd had tickets for that show for like 8 months, so nothing was stopping me. I could have been 2 days post-op, I still would have went. But I had physical therapy that day, and then I literally went to the show. It was great. It was a wonderful show. I loved it. It was amazing, and I laughed my butt off. It was great. But basically, PT was obviously different, like sections of working our way up. Now we're doing more, obviously, a mixture of like strength training and agility to try to get me back to like normal lifestyle. Still am in physical therapy now, several months later. It's a several month process. But right now, a lot of the stuff I can do, like I'm cleared to go back to the gym, and I can do what I'm doing in PT at the gym, which is honestly really helpful. And it's just nice to have a little bit more like normalness back in my life. So kind of obviously what to expect if you tear your ACL. To be honest with you, everyone's body's different, but kind of what I went through, it was not fun. I have a pretty high tolerance of, like, with pain. I'm very, very good with pain. But this was like pain that I have just never felt before. It was so uncomfortable on like the front and the back of my knee. It was so incredibly uncomfortable. It hurt so bad. And when I tell you guys, I was like in tears up until my surgery because the amount of pains that I was having, the muscle spasms, the cramps, like the bruising, and it was mainly, a lot of it was the swelling. Basically learning how to re-walk on that leg was terrible, because obviously when you can't put any weight on it and you're so swollen, it feels like someone is stabbing you through and through in your knee. It is absolutely terrible. So that's what a lot of the pre-op PT was learning how to properly put weight on it, but also range of motion. So obviously I was on crutches for several months. I was on crutches literally from injury to like beginning of September. So pretty much from July to September, I was completely on crutches. And then like beginning mid-September, I was able to get off of crutches with obviously very high restrictions. Like I could not do any type of anything. Like I could not lift a certain, like more than like 5 pounds. I couldn't obviously run. I had to walk very slow. Like I had to take it very easy, and just, so we're working our way up. Now I can do like a very fast-paced walk. I can lift up to like 15 pounds. I can push things a little bit heavier now than what I could do. So it's a very slow process. And what a lot of people don't realize is you don't start actually learning how to like run normally again until like 6 months or more after the surgery. So that's kind of what we're leaning up to now, is just like a lot of agility and make sure that the strength is high enough for the agility. That way I don't risk like re-tearing or injuring. That is another thing that you don't realize, is during the first several months after surgery, you are at risk of re-tearing. Any little wrong move, step, you have to be very, very careful, because that knee is going to be very sensitive, and any wrong move, especially during that first month or two, any wrong move, step, twist, turn, or if you land on that knee wrong, you could re-tear it. Once you kind of get out of that red zone and you start to build up your strength, you can really see the difference between your knee from when you first injured it till now. The biggest thing is having a great surgeon, a great doctor, a great team. I went to an ortho specialized hospital that has done my other surgery. I had my bunionectomy there last year, which that was a scheduled easy peasy minor surgery. This was not. But a big thing that I definitely tell people is like definitely do your research on physicians and hospitals and like where to go. I already knew where I wanted to go because this is one of the best hospitals in Nebraska for any type of orthopedic or ligament, ACL, knee injury, anything like that. So I already knew where I wanted to go. I basically just saw who could get me in first, and then I got picky after the first initial appointment with the doctor. Luckily, the doctor that was able to get me in was one of their top doctors, so I stuck with him and I trusted his judgment, and I trusted, honestly, him and his team the most. Plus, I'd heard of him before and he had really good reviews. That's honestly what makes it really helpful. What also makes it helpful is like my mom has had surgery there. She's had a total knee replacement. My other family members have had surgery through that hospital there. So it made it very simple for me to pick a hospital and to pick a doctor. But definitely this is something that you want to make sure you have a good surgeon for and a good surgical team, because obviously like this is something that is like permanent. You want to make sure you also pick a hospital that does have a good recovery timeline and PT timeline picked out for you, because that stuff is so stressful to deal with if you do not already have a schedule laid out. My team was great and basically already laid out my schedule and scheduled the first month for me by themselves, and then the rest of it was my responsibility, but at least I had a schedule of days, so it was really easy to schedule days and times. So I definitely recommend doing your research and just making sure you pick a great hospital, a great doctor, because also too, this surgery is expensive. I have insurance, so luckily insurance basically covered, I'm not gonna lie, more than half, like 80% of the surgery. I only have to pay a little bit out of pocket, but like I'm very thankful that insurance covered it. Not everyone is lucky and has insurance. Luckily, the hospital I went to has a great financial payment plan that you can like get on for higher bills, but I definitely recommend, like I said, doing your research and picking a good hospital that will work with you, but also picking a good doctor. Because like post-op complications are so common now, especially with providers and teams that don't know what they're doing. So it's very important that you pick somewhere that specializes in this, a doctor that's really good at what he does, and making sure that they help you with every step along the way. So yeah, that's pretty much my story on how I tore my ACL. I'm still technically like in recovery for it, because I'm still going to physical therapy, but I'm not going as much as I would. I only go like twice a month now versus twice a week every week. So I'm definitely starting to lower my sessions and do things on my own, which is nice. I don't recommend tearing your ACL. It was not a fun injury. Like I said, everyone's different and everyone's tear level is different. Grade 1 is like a pretty minor tear versus grade 3 is a pretty substantial tear like what I had. Plus I had to do a lot of cleanup within my knee, or I guess my doctor did, not me, I just laid there. But they had to do a lot of cleanup within my knee, so, you know, just lots of things. But I am better now. And we're doing great. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys how I tore my ACL, how I'm doing, and kind of how surgery went. If you have any questions about anything, leave them down below. I'm kind of just sharing my experience, but if you do want me to go more in depth, I can do like a Q&A. So my neighbor, I don't know what they just dropped outside, but that was a loud thump. But yeah, if you have any questions about anything or any questions about the surgery, recovery, or anything like that, like please leave them down below. And I can do a Q&A in the future if there's a few questions, or if there's just like only a couple, I'll just go through and answer them in the comments. That way everyone can see. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.